Hello and welcome to another episode of Divine Downloads, the show where we help you create that vision for your life here on earth through spiritual wisdom and strategic guidance. I'm your host and mentor, Cassandra Bodzak, and today we have a special episode that's really all about Mars retrograde and this energy in September 2020. I've been thinking about doing an episode like this for a while. Of course, I usually do astrological episodes, but also just intuitive energy downloads each month because there's just so much going on right now, so much downloading. So please do let me know if you like this episode. Give us 5 stars. Let me know that you like the intuitive energy reports, or feel free to tag us on social media and let me know that way. We're going to kick off our episode with, I've been wanting to bring this back. So if you read the details underneath my podcast, I do mention that I will be giving away free one-on-one sessions with yours truly. At random, when you leave a 5-star review, I will randomly select a 5-star review before a podcast episode. And if you're listening and it's your review, you can email us and redeem it for a free session with me, which is a $444 value. So today's 5-star review that we'll kick off with before we dive into the energy forecast is from Sharoni 820. So if you're Sharoni 820, congratulations. Let me read your amazing, beautiful review. Cassandra is like the good friend I've always wanted and is someone I could see myself hanging out with. I don't feel that pretense that I feel with other influencers. She's relatable and super wise. I love her energy and her light. I always walk away feeling lighter and brighter. Thank you so much for the 5-star review. It's so beautiful. I didn't read it until we're recording, so it made my heart swell. Sharoni820. If that's you, email us at assistant@cassandrabodzak.com and we will schedule your complimentary hour-long session with me. And for those of you listening who are like, that would be a dream, I'd love to do it, leave a 5-star review and you'll be entered to win. And if you've already left a 5-star review, don't worry, you'll still be in the running. Thanks so much. All right, so, oh my God. I mean, Pisces full moon, now we're in Mars retrograde, and that's why, and there's just so much going on these last 3 months of 2020, so I'm going to break it down for you in monthly energetic downloads, at least for the next 3 months, because I just feel like there's so much I want to talk to you about. But Mars going retrograde in Aries is a big flippin' deal, right? And I want to remind you, the reason that I like talking about astrology and the reason I like sharing about this is because I truly believe if you know what's going on energetically, if you know what's going on in that greater scheme, then it helps you not take it so hard on yourself, right? It kind of helps you. I don't say any of these things, especially if something is maybe construed as negative or frustrating or something like that. I don't say this to implant that in you. I say this because if you're already feeling that, or if that comes up this month for you, I don't want you to feel alone. I don't want you to feel like anything's wrong with you. I want you to understand that this is energetic waters that we are all navigating together, and everything is useful. Everything has a higher purpose, but of course, not everything feels amazing at the time. So we just, got off this full moon, and this whole month and, onwards, we're really in this deep releasing and rebuilding energy. We are, as a whole, still in this, and we will be for a while, in this energy of allowing this new paradigm to come through us, allowing systems to crumble, allowing things to fall, allowing us to, on an individual and on a collective level, to really rebirth our own identity, really to, shift the paradigm, jump into a new timeline. We're in this, and that's not just this month. That's still going on. That's been, if anything, a huge lesson of 2020, and we're going to see it moving into 2021. And so things are falling away. Things are breaking down. You're seeing, as we're seeing on a collective level, systems falling apart. We're seeing on a collective level uprisings. We're seeing on a collective level a lot of things kind of unearthing. You also have to understand that as we watch what's going on in the world, we watch what's going on in TV, we're all feeling all of that individually too. So we're all having our own personal 2020s as well as going through a collective 2020 together. Oh joy, right? And but trust that just like we're seeing in the world, the things that are being questioned, the things that are being put on the spotlight, the things that are really up on the platter, so to speak, to deal with, are there for a good reason, right? They're there because there are things that have been neglected. There are things that we need to handle. There's things that we need to restructure or heal. And so what's coming up for you individually is the same. So don't, we're in a very faded time. I think that's what I'm trying to say. We're in a very, very faded time. In fact, I feel like I could do a whole other podcast, and I probably will, honestly, on how faded this time is, right? This great change that we're in right now. I'm going to try to keep this more to Mars retrograde because I'll get carried away. But we're in a very faded time, and in that way, the same thing we're seeing, like with the Black Lives Matter movement and, what's going on in politics, and we're seeing how, like, these are things we needed to deal with. These are issues that we needed to address. These are things that we can no longer turn a blind eye to. The same thing is happening in your life, right? So your issues might look different, right? Maybe you're finally having to deal with your relationship with your body. And so it's really come to a head. It's really gotten uncomfortable for you, right? That's just a sign that that's your next divine assignment, right? If you're doing something and you're realizing, let's say, your systems around your business or your systems in your relationship, right, are not working, the communication is breaking down, your profits are breaking down in your business, whatever, it's there because it wants to be paid attention to. It wants you to refigure it. You wants you to reassess that. And let me just let that be the segue really into this Mars retrograde, because I want to make sure I get deep into that. So we're not Mars. It's not just Mars retrograde, but at the time of recording this, we also have Saturn, Pluto, and Jupiter in retrograde. So you got a lot of retrograde energy. But I do believe that this is. I was reading that this Mars retrograde in Aries hasn't happened for at least 40 years now. So this is a pretty, because Aries and Mars are like two peas in a pod. Like Aries is at home in Mars, right? But now you have Mars and Aries going retrograde, right? So it's like both Aries and Mars have this very fiery, aggressive, starting, like almost like, I imagine like the troops, like going to war kind of energy. It's this like masculine kind of push, like aggressive energy. And, when Mars is in Aries, not in retrograde, right? That energy feels like, I'm going to go get some stuff done. I'm going to I'm going to make those calls. I'm going to push. I'm going to, go get everything, right? I'm going to be a self-starter. I'm going to have all that motivation. Obviously, it can also look like I'm going to get into a fight, right? I'm going to get angry about this, right? When it's that quick temper energy as well. But now you have all of that. Imagine that kind of energy retrograde, right? So probably the most uncomfortable retrograde, right? You can imagine, because it's like the whole essence of retrograde is the complete opposite of what Mars and Aries is about. And so on a big level, realizing that you too may feel that, I've felt crazy anxiety today, and it was one of those things where it was like, it wasn't really about anything specific. And I think that's an important thing to acknowledge, because sometimes we'll feel anxiety or we'll feel sad or we'll feel, an emotion, and our first go-to is to try to find a reason, like, well, let me blame my anxiety on this, or let me blame my sadness on this, right? And we all have things in our life, we all do have things in our life that literally on any day we could decide that that's why we're sad, or decide that that's why we're anxious, right? But the importance, I think, of knowing this energy and this astrology, which helped me today personally, was that I was able to say, okay, I'm just feeling this energy, because anxiety in and of itself, right, is very similar to a Mars retrograde energy. It's like anxiety is you having this overload of energy inside of you, bottling up and not having a place for it to go, right? So today I went and worked out for like an hour and a half, and it was heaven. It was heaven. And I felt so much better afterwards, because it was like I was getting rid of all that energy that I had inside. So that's a general thing I want you guys to be aware of. If you're feeling anxious, I want you to move your body. I want you to get active. I want you to sweat. This is also going to help you. A lot of people might be experiencing insomnia right now. I know I have. I know like 4 people, honestly, that I talked to today, without even me saying anything, mentioned that they haven't been sleeping. So if that's something that's also like, I want you to think about it as simply an overflow of energy blocked in a bottle, right? And so it's causing the bottle to kind of shake, right? And instead of trying to make it about anything specific in your life, just deal with the energy. So whether it's like, if you've done that workshop of mine where I put on Florence and the machine, shake it out, and we just like shake it out. That's a great little meditation to do during these times. Like I said, I highly recommend exercising, sweating it out, physically, kind of pushing yourself and getting energy out that way, and exhausting yourself is going to be a godsend right now. I literally prescribe, and I'm not a huge, I've just recently got turned on to really working out a lot, but I don't particularly love working out, but I will tell you, I do it for my anxiety. And I do it for my focus. I have so much better focus. I'm in a better mood. But right now with Mars retrograde, I just want you to know that. The other thing, again, because Mars is retrograde, it's now until November 13th, I believe. I have to double check that, but it's early in November we're retrograde till. This is not a time for pushing. So it's actually the complete opposite, right, of what we have just experienced with Mars and Aries. It's no longer a time for us to be forcing anything, white knuckling anything, pushing to get a project done, being overly, really the energy I feel is like not being overly masculine, right? So and I don't say that in like the terms of like male, females, the, sexes, but in just the energetic of the masculine, right? The feminine is like the receiving and the allowing and the divine flow and the intuition. And the masculine is like, I'm going to go out and get it, right? I'm going to go out and get it. And so Mars in retrograde is kind of forcing us to be in our feminine. And it's going to go much better for you. It's going to be a much more productive and beautiful time for you if you just accept that. If you accept that it's not that you can't get anything done. I disagree with some astrologers or whatever on this aspect, but again, this is just my intuitive energy download. So take what resonates, toss what doesn't. But I don't think it means that you can't get stuff done. I don't think it means that you can't launch something, right? But what it does mean is that if launching something or getting a project done feels like hustling, feels like pushing right now, is not gonna go well. It's not gonna go well. It's not only gonna make you miserable, but it's also just not gonna go well. Like the actual launch or the pushing of whatever, it's not gonna work right now, because you're going against the tides. You're going against the energy right now. And so the energy, it's not that like let's not do anything or everybody goes on vacation for Mars retrograde or something like that, or let's just watch Netflix until November, right? No, it's about following that intuitive flow, right? And I'm onboarding clients right now, and the perfect example of this was yesterday. And obviously, I've been working with clients for almost a decade now. So I have both a masculine and a feminine balance to my coaching. So the masculine part of my coaching is that I have structure of kind of, the outline of what I want to make sure I cover with them, of kind of walking them through the process I have, right? But then I also have the feminine in the aspect of I leave a lot of space for what intuitively and energetically comes up, because you can't plan for anything and you shouldn't be pushing. And this is how I believe in my coaching as well. So an example of this, and an example of a very like kind of Mars and retrograde thing to look out for, was we were doing one of our first session chats. And so part of that is we have them vision their biggest, juiciest vision. We break it down to what does it look like in 6 months to be on the way to that vision. And then we break it down even more into like, what are the very tangible goals and fears of that vision, right? And so we were focusing on a money goal, and we were breaking that down, and we were looking at what that meant she had to make every month. And, then we started looking at the fears. And when we started looking at the fears, what popped up was a lot of stuff about it, like calling in a romantic relationship and how maybe having a certain amount of money might make that difficult. Anyway, so it kind of led us down this path to actually dive deeper into what she was looking for in a partner and what she was ready to call in and how she would be having financial conversations with her partner, right? And that's a perfect Mars retrograde example, right? The kind of quote unquote, let's say, wrong thing to do would have been to say, okay, well, let's not get too distracted by talking about your relationship. Let's bring it back to the money, right? And if you think about that in the context of your life, let's say you're forcing yourself to work on your budget right now. If you think about that out of the coaching session and into just what does that look like in your life, you're forcing yourself to work on your budget right now, but what's really calling to you is dating and maybe reading books on the psychology of dating, or, being in that space, right? It's important to not push it, right? In certain energies and in a lot of spaces, it doesn't mean, like I said, it doesn't mean with my client, or it doesn't mean with you that we're just going to never talk about money again. No, of course not, right? It doesn't mean that you're never going to do your budget. It just means if right now, what feels full of ease and full of flow, what feels like I think easy is the best way to say it. What feels like it's just, it's coming to you, you want to do it, and therefore it's easy and it feels good and fun, do that today, right? So if your attention is being called, let's say to focus on that other thing, then say, okay, I'm going to focus on that other thing, and trust, that whether it's the universe or me or whatever happens, that something else will pop up, right? And another time, you're going to feel that way about doing your budget, right? And, and I know some of you might be like, well, it's always going to be more fun to swipe on Bumble than to do my budget. But no, right? Because that's assuming that, you have no other stimuli or no other inspiration, right? So let's say you happen to just be on a walk, and what feels fun to you that day is to listen to a podcast about manifesting money, right? And so you're on your walk listening to a podcast about manifesting money, and now all of a sudden doing that budget feels really exciting, feels really easy, feels like you're naturally flowing to it. So you get back from your walk and you take a shower and you sit down at your computer, and you're actually feeling the flow of looking at that budget and doing that, right? So, and I would even venture to say that, like, you can also be an active conduit to those experiences. If there is something that has been feeling like pushing to you, you could ask yourself, well, are there things I could do that would maybe make this flow more, right? For me, if I have to do some back end stuff on my business and I listen to a really interesting business podcast, and all of a sudden, like, all my wheels are spinning and I'm super excited, and I dive into that with a new sense of enthusiasm, right? And so it's really about that energy of feeling that energy of, is this effortlessly flowing, or am I feel like I'm like literally like knocking down a door, like I'm forcing, like I'm pushing? Because once again, like I said, it's gonna, one, it's gonna be harmful for you. It's gonna not be great for you, just, you know, energetically and emotionally to be doing that right now. But it's also just not going to be beneficial in the greater scheme. And so thinking about too, if you do have big projects going on, let's say you're about to launch your business, let's say you're about to move into a house, or, you know, I don't know, whatever, big projects going on like that, or even let's say you're manifesting your soulmate, right? These are all things I've talked about this week with clients. It's really just allowing yourself that time. Retrogrades are always periods of review. So if you think about Mars as like the kind of, let's go to work, let's do this, let's hustle, let's forward facing action, a Mars retrograde is really a review of your action plan. It's really saying, okay, well, let's say up until this point you were trying to make X amount of money, right? And Mars retrograde would be like, okay, well, instead of just kind of like going down and like not hammering the doors, throwing spaghetti against the wheels right now, which normally Mars and Aries would be just kind of like, just go, like hustle, you know, like toss the flyers out, right? Go knock on doors, right? Like, I don't know, that's kind of like that energy, right? Now it would be like, okay, let's sit down. Let's see what strategies have worked in the past. What was my action plan? Let me review it. Let me refine it. Let me make sure it's still in alignment. Let me make sure it feels good. Let me make sure that I work out any kinks, that it feels effective. Am I doing everything strategically, right? So just giving yourself that extra time right now to not feel like you have to like put the gas all the way down and kind of wing it and hope you end up at your destination. It's not about not driving at all, but it, you know, in my opinion, it's really just about giving yourself more grace and more space to really look at where you're going. And then the other aspect of that I do want to touch on is that for everyone, it's going to look different. And for a lot of people right now, and I want to address this because I think for a lot of people right now, it might be focusing, allowing themselves the spaciousness to focus on the things outside their career as well. I know if you're listening to this, you're probably one of my ambitious lightworker entrepreneurs wanting to, you know, create your impact and create your, you know, your own work situation in the world, and that is great. But sometimes when we get into that energy, we can also ignore some of the other aspects of our lives. We can ignore nurturing our friendships. We can ignore sitting with our feelings. We can ignore taking care of our physical health, or decorating our home, or, you know, navigating relationships. And, you know, and this is also, and again, my intuitive download about it is a rebalancing. 2020 in a lot of ways is a rebalancing, a reintegration, and a birthing of a new way of doing things, right? So along with a lot of the things that are falling off, right? The things that are falling away, the things about us that are breaking down, that are crumbling right now, we're also looking at what are the areas where we, you know, we didn't want to give our time, right? I'll be honest, like for me, it's with like the working out and even, you know, planning a wedding and stuff, right? I am someone that has always devoted, you know, most of my time to my work, and then of course some time to friendships and relationships. But, you know, planning a wedding, moving, getting a house, all of these things require more presence in the home, right? More presence in the personal. I know a lot of people right now that are going through massive relationship upheavals, People that are going through grief, obviously collectively, whether people have passed from COVID or people have just passed on, right? Working through grief and really giving yourself the space to work through that. There's also the grief that comes with, the collective grief of the passing of our old life, right? The collective grief of the fact that, maybe, some people are going to move through grief about losing their jobs, or moving through grief of just losing the way they used to do their jobs, moving through grief about, the way they used to live their life and how things are changing that way. There's a lot of different forms of grief during this time of tremendous releasing, right? Of tremendous changing, and it's like, the snake's skin is being pulled off of us. The layers of the onions are unfurling. Things are changing so fast. And I know, like, between clients and friends and us, I know that so many people are having what I like to call like fireworks of change right now. And what a firework of change is literally getting hit from all angles in like explosive moments of massive change, right? So whether it's, like I said, relationship stuff, whether it's money stuff, whether it's career stuff, whether it's personal stuff, whether it's health stuff, like on all angles, people are really getting that. And if anyone that relates to that is listening, I want to let you know, please, please, please trust that this is for your highest and truest good. And I know that it sucks. I know it sucks if that's where you're at right now. But know that if you're on your knees, that is the best place to be, because it is time for all of us to surrender. It is time for all of us to surrender the fact that we know that we can predict the future, to surrender the fact that we know what's best for us and our life, to surrender the ways that we were trying to micromanage and control everything, because guess what? If 2020 showed you everything, you got no control, right? You got no control. And that's a big part of the lesson. I'm looking at my notes right now as we wrap up. We're in a massive overhaul right now. We're massively overhauling our lives, and it's like, it's not even intentional, right? If you're here, I'm sure you're conscious enough where you're like, okay, I'm going for the ride. This is happening. I might as well, be awake for the house cleaning, so to speak, right? But everyone is going through a massive detox process, right? A detox of the old ways, a detox of the old paradigm, a detox of the old life, right? And so in that moment, one of the biggest things that's coming through for us to learn on the deepest level ever is trust and surrender, and listening to that divine plan, receiving that divine downloads, not to be cliche, but it is. Mars in retrograde is like, 2020 was already doing it, and then Mars in retrograde is like, let me just sink this lesson in, right? Because the only thing that's going to really work or move your life forward or be a positive thing right now is a thing that comes with ease and flow and alignment and divine intuition, right? It's something that's flowing that way. Your little ideas of what you think things should be or what you think you have to do are going to get, door closed on them right now. If you're forcing it, if you're white knuckling it, if you're trying to make something happen that's not in alignment, it's just not going to work. It's just not, right? And so just, I think if there's one thing to leave you with right now is just keep coming back to that. Keep coming back to your practice of asking for that intuitive guidance. Keep coming back to that questioning of what feels like ease and flow right now. what game plans or action plans or big things that maybe I was trying to push or create in my life need some refining, Mars in Aries is like the guy that like doesn't even think and like opens the door and says, I'm gonna quit, right? And then like walks out, like, goes to get lunch and realizes, oh my God, I don't have any money. How am I gonna pay my rent? I don't have a job set up. I don't even know what job I'm gonna get. Like, so Mars in retrograde is the opposite of that. It's saying, let's not just run into your boss's room and quit and not know what tomorrow brings. Instead, let's review that plan by inviting in the divine help and divine guidance and divine intuition and saying, okay, it's not saying you can't quit your job. It's just saying, okay, well, if what you want to do is quit your job, let's just take a look. What does that look like? Okay, maybe we need to want to save up X amount of money first. Maybe we want to start applying for other jobs first. Maybe we want to adjust our budget, right? It's kind of saying like, don't do anything rash right now. Allow yourself that space to really, prepare yourself so that, come November, you're going to come out the gate strong and prepared. And you'll have also had this time, right? Because everything is an ebb and flow. You'll have had this time that can feel more relaxing, can feel more intuitive, can have more ease and flow, so that it's not that there's anything wrong with that like go get 'em energy. It's just, let's give ourselves those peaks and valleys to recuperate and to be in the detox process that wants to happen, to be in the reflection that wants to happen, to be in the overhaul and the crumbling that wants to happen, so that we can rebuild really intentionally together. And so I hope this was helpful for you. I hope that this, maybe sheds some light on things that you're going through, gives you some good advice when you think about how you're going to trudge ahead. I'm also going to record a workshop for you. It's going to be free, and it's going to be all about how to navigate the quantum shift that is 2020, right? Essentially, that's what it's going to be about, and all of these things that you guys have been asking me about anchoring in new timelines, about stepping into the new paradigm, about just kind of the energetic lessons that are really present right now and how you can show up for them in a really positive way and meet them where they're at and utilize them to leap forward. So that's my gift to you. I love you guys, and I love talking about this stuff, and I appreciate you subscribing and supporting me. So you can check the link below to sign up for that and watch that. As always, I don't know exactly, because I'm listening to this Mars retrograde energy and waiting until it feels like flow and alignment, but I will be doing a group coaching program coming up, and I know a lot of you guys have asked about that. So we've created a wait list. It's no obligation. You're not committed to anything, but because this will probably sell out so fast with the demand that we've experienced, if you're interested in it and you want to know before we go public with it, click on the links below, just put your name on the wait list, and you'll just get first dibs on a spot when I open up my group coaching program this fall. So thanks so much for listening. I love you, love you, love you. Please subscribe, leave a review. It truly helps, and you could have a chance to win a free one-on-one session with me as well. Mwah. Happy Mars retrograde!